This world is but a single cell within the body of an immensely large creature. It's an extremely sophisticated macro creature, and it feeds on the souls of the inhabitants dying within the cells of its body. The landmasses upon which we walk are the petrified and fossilized cadavers of gigantic animals, some of which were over 1,000 kilometers long. There were also gigantic botanical species during those periods. The fact that those gigantic life forms lived once but were killed and replaced with life forms of smaller size have given me the possibility to draw several conclusions about some of the characteristics of the immensely large creature. Here are some of them. Mammalian properties. Personally, I believe that the immensely large creature is some kind of a hybrid. It's a mixture between several species, although I have been able to find evidence that it has mammalian properties as well. The fact that creatures bigger than 1,000 kilometers lived once means that those creatures weighed billions of metric tons and produced souls which weighed millions of metric tons. So, back in those days, the number of species was much less than the number of species we see today, but the size of the creatures was much bigger. It means that the soul sustenance of the immensely large creature was made out of a much lesser variety of species. I believe that back in those days, the immensely large creature was a newborn being, and just as it is the case with newborn mammals, it didn't need a great variety of nutrients, at least not until it surpassed its infant period. After it grew a little bigger, it needed a greater variety in its diet, and the 1,000-kilometer long animals within the cells of its body were killed and replaced with a greater number of species but of a smaller size. So, as the immensely large creature grew bigger and older, the 1,000-kilometer long animals were replaced with animals of smaller size so that they produce a greater variety of souls, and therefore a greater variety in nutrients. This is what we see in other mammals as well, including humans. A human being doesn't start to feed on a greater variety of foods until it becomes a toddler. Lifespan and current age. The lifespan of the immensely large creature is something we could roughly estimate after we determine its current age. Its current age can be calculated if we could somehow determine how long ago the 1,000-kilometer long dragon-like animals lived. By the process of carbon dating, we could establish the time in which the 1,000-kilometer long animals lived, and therefore determine when the immensely large creature was a newborn. However, the fact is that the entire scientific community is being controlled by our Freemasonic world rulers, and they are doing everything in their power to distract us from seeing the horrible nature of our existence. So, any data presented to us by our mainstream narrative won't be trustworthy. Our Freemasonic world rulers most likely know the answers about the subject. So, I cannot determine the current age and the lifespan of the immensely large creature without exact and trustworthy data. All I know for sure is that it's no longer a newborn, nor is it an infant. It's no longer a toddler either. It has surpassed those periods of its life. It can be anything from a child to a fully grown adult. However, additional conclusions can still be drawn from the obvious change in its diet. Mortality. The fact that the immensely large creature was born in the first place means that it is not an immortal being, and even though it might have a lifespan of a few million years, it will still grow old and die. Macro world. The fact that the immensely large creature was born also means that it has parents, and that means that there is an entire macro world out there full of immensely large creatures. Divinity. Even though the immensely large creature is being serviced by extremely powerful creator entities, lower ranked entities, and entire fleets of UFOs in each of its cells, it is not a god. It is a creation, similar to us. And even while it's an immensely large soul-eating being, it is not divine in nature. Its relationship to the divine is a rather interesting one, but that will be a topic for another video. My summarized conclusion is that the immensely large creature, in the body of which we are, is an extremely sophisticated being. It's most likely a hybrid, but it has some of the properties of a mammal. It is a mortal creature with a lifespan of a few million years. It has surpassed its baby period, and it feeds on a greater variety of souls now. It's on top of the food chain, and it feeds on the spiritual energy of the botanical and animal life forms dying within the cells of its body. It was born, so it's not alone, but a part of an entire macro world full of immensely large creatures. It's not a divine entity, it's a creation, though it is of a great importance to the divine.